Good day, shipmates. As some of you may be aware, May is celebrated in the United States as Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Since it would be an exercise in utter futility to attempt to sum up the maritime endeavors of a group that encompasses more than half the world's population in a single or even in a long series of discussions, I shall instead set my sights on a rather narrower goal. Today, we shall apply ourselves to the study of perhaps the best known of Asian sailing ships, the Chinese junk. Now, some of you may already be familiar with the junk's distinctive outline and silhouette, but we must by no means make the mistake of assuming that the junk was the only sailing vessel to ply the waters in and around the Asian continent during the Age of Sail. For the sake of brevity, I shall make no mention in this video of such fine vessels as the lateen-rigged Arab dhow, the Indian sambuck, the Chamorro proa with its characteristic outrigger and crab-claw sail, or any of the other countless types of watercraft that were for centuries the means of trade, exploration, warfare, and transportation in Asia and the Middle East. And so, on to the junk. There is a great deal of variation in the construction and design of junks, but they all share a few basic characteristics. Firstly, junks are fitted with fully battened sails and are fore and aft rigged. That is, their sails lie along the longest axis of the vessel, like a schooner, rather than athwartships as on European square riggers. The battens hold the sails out flat, providing structure and making them easier to handle, as well as providing a great many reef points. One Chinese saying has it that junk sails are shaped like human ears and are always listening for the wind. Another typical feature of junks is the use of multiple watertight compartments separated by bulkheads throughout the inside of the vessel. This has been compared to the internal structure of bamboo, and it aids with buoyancy as well as slowing flooding in an emergency. The great American statesman and diplomat Benjamin Franklin was so impressed with this design that he wanted to incorporate it into the packet ships carrying mail between Europe and the Americas. In 1787, Franklin wrote, "As these vessels are not to be laden with goods, their holds may without inconvenience be divided into separate compartments, after the Chinese manner, and each of these apartments cocked tight, so as to keep out water. In this way, they would not be so subject as others to founder and sink at sea." These compartments were not always purely practical, however. They were often very luxuriously furnished. The Italian explorer Marco Polo wrote of the larger junks that each of them contains some 50 or 60 cabins, wherein the merchants abide greatly at their ease. One feature that is not unique to junks, but which did first appear on these ships, is the balanced, stern-mounted rudder. Now, we may today take the rudder for granted, but this technology was not developed by Europeans until the 12th century AD. By that time, Chinese shipwrights had been fitting their junks with rudders for centuries. In an additional refinement, Chinese rudders were often fitted to windlasses so that they could be raised in shoal water or lowered as necessary to provide stability, a bit like a centerboard. This was particularly important, as junks are traditionally flat-bottomed. Now, the more experienced sailors among you might question the seaworthiness of a flat-bottomed ship, but history has proven the junk to be about as excellent a seaboat as ever was built. During a period of naval expansion in the 15th century, Ming Dynasty armadas were dispatched into the Indian Ocean, to the Arabian Peninsula, and even as far away as Africa's Cape of Good Hope. At its height, the Great Ming Navy numbered well over 3,000 ships and employed over 30,000 sailors. Included in this great fleet were the enormous treasure ships, reportedly 450 feet long by 150 feet in beam, although these exact dimensions are debated somewhat. Nevertheless, this was far beyond the capabilities of even the most advanced of European states, and in the words of the Italian merchant Niccolo da Conti, "They do make bigger ships than we do, that is to say, of 2,000 tons, with 5 sails and so many masts." Other contemporary reports have put the number of masts carried by these colossal ships at 9. Well, I'm afraid that it is here I must leave off. It would be an easy thing to go on for hours about the benefits and drawbacks of this unique rig, as well as to talk about the various famous junks and their voyages throughout the centuries, but sadly, on a fighting ship such as Providence, there simply isn't the time. I do hope that this all too brief discussion has at least piqued your interest, and will encourage you to read more about these magnificent vessels on your own.